I don't want to brag. It would be indecorous of me to boast, but there is a chance that on this day you might hear the finest sermon on the book of Obadiah you have ever heard. Okay, I know you've never heard a sermon from the book of Obadiah, but if anybody asks, what was the best sermon you ever heard, I want credit. Obadiah is one of only 5 books that's not included at all in the lectionary readings. It's the thinnest of all the minor prophets, and it's also the smallest book in the whole of the Old Testament. Completely ignored like the quiet kid in middle school. So I thought it would be fun to start off the sermon with a little bragging because, as you've noticed, the theme of this sermon and the whole service is the sin of pride, which is listed, as you know, as one of the 7 deadly sins. By way of commercial, during Lent, Dr. David Hull is going to teach a Wednesday night series on the 7 deadly sins. And I encourage you to be here, in part because I've encouraged him to illustrate from within the congregation. As much as possible, I think it would generate a lot of interest and attendance. So just in case your name is called, you'll want to be here on Wednesday. But of the 7 deadly sins, this one, the sin of pride, might be the one that intrigues me the most. Because it's the only one we are actually proud of. Have you noticed? We happily declare our pride to each other, and we don't do that with any of the other sins. For instance, we say, Mommy is proud of you for asking to be excused from the table. I am so proud of my son. He's just made captain in the Air Force. Every Sunday when I leave Second-Ponce, I am so proud to tell everybody I know that I'm associated with such a great place. So catch the irony here. We are proud of being proud. We just don't do that with any of the other 7 deadlies. Hey, I just finished another day full of sloth and unproductivity. You just never hear that. So how is it that we're proud of being proud when proud is depicted as one of the sins? Well, I'm being playful. The truth is, we use the same word for a range of experience, and pride in the biblical sense isn't delighting that your grandchild is potty trained. Biblical pride is not pleasure in our association with our alma mater or our church or our country or our family. Pride in the Bible is self-overestimation. Pride is arrogance, hubris, vanity. It is liking me a lot and living for me all the time. Super Bowl Sunday, perhaps we can illustrate the difference between pride of association and pride in our own accomplishments by using football examples. Tom Brady is not exactly the poster child for humility, but his statement about his pride in the Patriots making the Super Bowl is not self-serving vanity. This is an example of the kind of noble pride in association. It's pretty amazing. Just to be on a team that wins these kind of games, it's just a great accomplishment, Brady said. I'm just so proud of everyone on our team. We made so many great plays. Defense played so great when they needed to. You see, he's proud, but there's no hubris. There's no, look at me, I'm all that. Compare that to the words of 2012 Super Bowl winning quarterback Joe Flacco. When the Baltimore Ravens quarterback was interviewed on a TV station, WNST in Baltimore, he said, I think I'm the best. I don't think I'm top 5. I think I'm the best. That would be biblical pride. See the difference? All right. But be careful. Sometimes our pride in association, in identification, can slide over to arrogance. It happens. Pride in being Irish is not a sin, but it's in its extreme form, it can be racism. Patriotism is certainly not a sin, but in its extreme form, jingoism. Pride in association can run amok, and it happens in our biblical story today. The Edomites went from being proud to have a flag flying on their front porch, a CD of Lee Greenwood singing, "I'm proud to be an Edomite," to operating out of the sinful pride that struts and overestimates and exploits. A little background. You remember when I preached from Amos and Micah, it was a time of peace in the United Kingdom. Those prophets were railing at the Israelites for living fat and exploiting those without voice or power. Then, 722, the northern kingdom is destroyed by the Assyrians, and we listened to the prophets Zephaniah and Habakkuk as they preached courageously to their culture. But in the next 20-year period, Jerusalem is attacked by 3 different waves of military attack, ultimately destroyed, run out by the Babylonians. Their country was devastated, national institutions were dismantled, the leaders were deported. The Israelites who were not killed in the military destruction were banished, sent about 400 miles away from home. And just to the south of Jerusalem, just bordering Judah to the south, is the kingdom of Edom. And back when the United Kingdom was flourishing, when Edom was a part of the United Kingdom, and they enjoyed the days of peace and prosperity in Israel's good days. But when the trouble started and the war broke out, they just ran into their homes, closed the doors and the shutters, put their fingers in their ears. They were no help at all to their neighbor under attack. In fact, they were a little bit smug. There was a high hill that separated Edom from Judah, and it gave them a strategic advantage. It was a good post because from up there, they could see the armies that might be approaching, and they had an advantage, and they were proud of their advantage. Proud that their territory was still untouched. Proud to be disassociated with those pitiful little Israelites who were getting the tar beat out of them. And what's worse, not only did they not help their neighbor and former friends, they came along after the destruction was over and they looted. They came along and stole what was left that might be of value. We've seen scenes of this on television. After a natural disaster and everybody flees the community and the windows are blown out of some store, and then right afterwards, the day after, you'll see groups of young boys run in and grab the televisions and all of that and take them home. That's exactly what the Edomites did. But as the book of Proverbs states, pride cometh before the fall. Their national pride had gone from patriotism and honorable association with their heritage to the kind of pride that fosters selfishness and arrogance. Like Nazi Germany, they feel indestructible and believe that a 1,000-year Reich is their due. And they're fortified by their high strategic advantage. They strut and they think they're all that. But all governments are provisional. None is perfect. No rule is absolute. And when the government turns evil and claims indestructible and absolute power, they are ripe for destruction. And Obadiah, speaking the words of God, lets them have it. Obadiah declares in no uncertain terms that their pride is going to lead to ruin, that God is the ultimate power, and he speaks on God's behalf, saying this: I will surely make you least among the nations. You will be utterly destroyed. Your proud heart has deceived you. You that live in the clefts of the rock, whose dwelling place is in the heights. You say in your heart, who will bring me down to the ground? Well, though you soar aloft like the eagle, though your nest is set among the stars, from there I will bring you down, says the Lord. The Edomites kind of remind me of Gaston in Beauty and the Beast. You know what I'm saying? You remember the handsome Gaston who just can't believe Belle's not taken with him? I mean, look. He is all of that. He is the total package. No one's slick as Gaston. No one's quick as Gaston. No one's neck is incredibly thick as Gaston's. It's just pride run amok. And remember, Edom has not only turned their backs and wouldn't help their neighbor, they also ransacked their treasures. Obadiah says, on that day you stood aside. On the day that strangers carried off his wealth, foreigners entered his gates, cast lots for Jerusalem, you too were like one of them. But Gaston doesn't care about anybody but Gaston. It's tricky. I know it's tricky. Because we want to cultivate a self-worth, a healthy self-esteem. We want to cultivate a healthy pride. Pride in our appearance, pride in our deportment, pride in our associations that bring pleasure. But be careful. Because when it starts slipping into a better than, look at me, showy arrogance, well, to quote Obadiah, your proud heart has deceived you. And from there I will bring you down, says the Lord. But what you know, because you've seen it over and over, is that people with a healthy self-assurance, people with the most inner peace, often people with the most accomplishment, tend to be the humblest. Jesus said, blessed are the meek, and they are some of my favorite people. I think about President Eisenhower instructing that he be buried in an $80 government-issue casket like would be issued to an infantry officer. The most accomplished are often the most humble. I was friends with our former governor, George Busby. We became close friends when I served as interim pastor of Parkway Baptist Church, and our friendship continued. We played tennis together, vacationed together once. As you know, Parkway sits in Duluth in the Platinum Triangle around the corner from the Atlanta Athletic Club, community of accomplishment and shiny cars. But one Sunday morning, Governor Busby and I had this exchange. He said something to me that was just so totally uncharacteristic, it shocked me. He pulled me aside not too long before the sermon. I'm wired up. But he pulls me over to the wall and he said, Doc, you know that I'm a powerful man, don't you? Well, it got my attention. I mean, in spite of our friendship, when the former governor starts with, you straighten up. I said, yes, sir. And he pointed up to the audio room. The controls for the audio in that church was a cut-in place in the second floor. He pointed up there to the second floor, and he grinned, and he said, I'm running the controls today in the sound booth, and I can cut your sermon off anytime I want. Well, when the former governor of Georgia runs the sound booth in church, you know what it looks like to have conquered pride. Blessed are the meek. They will inherit the earth. If you're new to our church, this is our project here. We come together every week to worship God and to work on the most loving version of ourselves possible. You are loved. And by God's transforming love, we are saved from our selfishness, liberated to live out of a different vision of reality. And if you want to say yes to God's transforming love modeled perfectly in Jesus Christ, if you're ready to say yes to the disciplined life of becoming unselfish and whole, you can respond, and I'll be down front to receive you. And if you're thinking it might be time for you to join this church, where you can grow in community and exercise and practice what it means to be transformed, this church will welcome you as all the rest of us are welcomed, another broken and beautiful one for whom Christ died. We are trying Sunday after Sunday to figure out how to grow closer to the Christ we are called to emulate. Respond as you feel led. Let's sing together.